So today we're going to be talking about why Democrats are rebounding and what exactly they've done to push themselves back over the top and over Republicans when it comes to the generic ballot poll, when it comes to the way that they're viewed by Americans, and overall general looking forward to the 2018 midterms, especially since there are five primaries tonight, Tuesday, June 12th, 2018. We're going to have 5 primaries tonight, all of them which I'm probably going to look at, but I'm probably not going to live stream it considering I'm studying for a final tomorrow. So this video probably won't be the quickest, but I probably won't be live streaming tonight either. So right now we have 47.5% of the vote for the Democrats to 39.3%. Of course, these are adjusted numbers by 538, my bad. Because a number of these polls definitely come in with a more liberal-leaning bias, so they are usually leveled out, or sometimes they come in with a more lenient towards the Republicans. So looking at this, when I made that video, the Democrats were around this area. They were leading by 4.6%, and now they're reaching areas where they could get improved to a double-digit lead. So back here, they had a 44.6% lead, even smaller at one point. But now it's at 47.5% for the Democrats, and the Republicans are now under 40% yet again. So what happened? I mean, if we go ahead, let's see if we can find the Trump approval rating. That's not it. Right here, 43.1% of people approve of the president, according to Real Clear Politics, but 41.6% according to 538. The only ones we really need to talk about is the likely voters. So the numbers are a little bit closer when it comes to likely voters. But 42.6% approve, 52.1% disapprove, around the same numbers as we see on Real Clear Politics. But it definitely dipped down. So it was on track to reach around, it was at one point rounded 45%, but now it's down to 43%. That's not good for the president. 45% isn't good either. It's just good compared to where he was before. Keep in mind there were times where he was at 37%. I don't think he reached 36% on this map, but there was a time where he was at 36%. And looking at these numbers, typically the likely voters are more lenient to the president because if you go to just adults in general, he has a 40% approval rating, but typically those adults don't come out and vote. Obviously, that's why we're using likely voters. So even with the president right there, his drop in his approval rating yet again does correlate with the numbers we're seeing for the Democratic Party. And let's see if we can find some 2018 polls. Actually, let's look at the Senate map first. Looking at the Senate map, it's looking a little bit better for Democrats. I mean, Tennessee, of all states, is a toss-up. Arizona is a toss-up. Nevada is a toss-up. These are 3 Republican-controlled seats, and right now they have one leaning GOP seat from the state of Texas, where Ted Cruz is going to have a hotly contested general election, but currently leading by 9% in the opinion polls. But, of course, there aren't many in right now. But looking at the Senate map, the Democrats at one point had no chance of retaking the Senate, and now they're at a point where they do have a possibility, and a very strong possibility of holding almost all of their seats. If you look to the Rust Belt, this is likely, not leaning, okay? Which means that it's likely, again, that Democrats win here. Virginia is rated the same as Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. These states are probably going blue. Or if New Jersey is rated safe, or if New Jersey is the same rating as Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, they're probably going blue. And the fact that Montana and Ohio are already leaning Democratic, North Dakota, I could see how you could put that in the leaning GOP column. But Indiana and Missouri, Missouri I see possibility for Republicans, but Indiana, Florida, Arizona, Nevada are all looking for as good news for the Democrats. So let's say the Democrats win in Arizona, Nevada, 2 states that they were close in or won back in 2016. That puts them at 46. They hold on to the rest of their seats. They win a 51-seat majority to 49. But Tennessee is one that's going to get really close, especially with the former governor running. And he is pretty much doing pretty well on the polls. If you look at the average, he has a 5% lead overall, just based off all the polls averaging out. And that's good news for Republicans. But in general, the Democrats are just doing better. I mean, let's go ahead and look at the 2018 outlook. So 63.5% of a chance of winning the House majority for the Democrats and 36.5%. So we can actually look at individual districts and based on what they have a possibility of flipping. So Iowa's 3rd district has a possibility of 1% of the vote, more than the Republican going and giving the Democratic victory here in the House, whereas Iowa's 1st district, the Democrats are expected to win by 6%. So some of these are definitely more Democratic than the other ones, but typically this is just good news for Democrats in general. If we go back to where I made the video where I said Democrats were down, yes, they were down at that point, but I said there was a possibility of them coming back, and they are doing it now. I'm not saying the numbers will stay. I'm not saying the Democrats will win the House, but as of right now, it looks as if they're getting a lot better and a lot more favorable across the country. And typically, favorability doesn't always go hand in hand with how people vote. If we look at this map, you could tell that the Republicans were gaining ground and Democrats were going down. There was a point where the Democrats led by 3.2%. Okay, now they're at the highest point since around March. And let's see the final time. So around March, where they had a 8.2 and then went down to 7. That was their highest point for before now, and 7.6% is nothing to laugh about, considering that Democrats are trending upwards, meaning if they keep this trend, they'll probably reach around 10% by the end of the year, and that's exactly what the Republicans had, and they won over 60 seats in the House back. So keep that in mind, and Democrats typically are underestimated when it comes to generic ballot polls, so that's something to note. But overall, Democrats haven't been focusing much on President Trump. President Trump is actually doing pretty good, in my opinion, especially with the whole North Korean thing, and the poll numbers are reflecting that. But how come the poll numbers are going for the Democrats? Well, mainly because the mainstream media hasn't been focusing too much on Democrats. They haven't been doing anything really media worthy. The only thing that was really mentioned about Democrats in the past couple of weeks was the fact that they made a ruling in the DNC that would pretty much prohibit Bernie Sanders from running. So that was really the only notable thing. Democrats weren't in the front of anything, and they weren't looking bad necessarily. The president can look good, and so can Democrats. It's not necessarily they have to be polar opposites, because that's not how things work. If it was, then Democrats would be down or President Trump's approval rating would be down, but that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing an increased approval rating compared to where we were a couple months ago. Actually, let's go down to March. So back in March, when Democrats were at their highest, Trump was at a lower approval rating than he is now, and it's 42.9% now, and Democrats are pretty much gaining back traction, and mainly because they're focusing on primaries, and primaries distract people away from the mainstream media and coming out to vote and rallying behind candidates. Back here, there was a hotly contested primary. People were saying, oh, I'm not going to vote for this candidate if they win the primary. Now they're starting to think about it, especially since we're getting very close to the 2018 midterms, June, July, August, September, October, November, and then we have midterms, and then we have 2 more years to the 2020 election. So Democrats are definitely getting their stuff together. Keep in mind, around 3 weeks ago when I made the video saying Democrats were down, Democrats were ahead in opinion polling for the Republican wave year of 2010. So keep that in mind. Anything is possible. But states like Florida, one with a popular Republican governor running against a Democratic senator, the Democrat is still leading overall. And then when it comes to a number of other races, even like Utah's 4th district, there is a possibility of a Democratic victory here, even though that wouldn't even be considered a couple months ago. So when looking at the Democratic generic ballot poll, the generic ballot poll ahead, the Democrats are definitely doing a lot better, and it's mainly because they're not focusing so much on President Trump, and President Trump is actually getting viewed more positively. So if President Trump messes up even more, the Democrats will probably attack them, but it'll probably just level out to the same amount. But Democrats right now are doing pretty good, and you can't deny that they're gaining back in polls. And don't deny the existence of a blue wave, because it's going to happen, and if you just deny it, you're probably going to be affected by it. So just come out and vote regardless. And yeah, so again, just to recap, the Democrats are rebounding mainly because of the president. As crazy as it sounds, yes, he can have a high approval rating, and the Democrats can have a high ballot poll. Not high as in like 53%, because that's not high for this president, because he's never been at that point. But, 43% is pretty good enough for President Trump. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.